Thank you all for coming today for this reception here at the Blanden Art Museum. We're here to listen to the amazing artist Mary Muller, and be in the same space with her amazing artwork, which is just full of color and light, which is really fantastic. Again, thank you for being here. Make sure that you are checking out our Facebook page. If you're not a follower, please follow, friend us on our Facebook. All of our events and things get posted on our Facebook, on our website, and all that. And we have exhibits and activities and programs going out throughout the whole year, including classes. And we have some really amazing classes coming up because we've got a really amazing brand new art educator. So we're very happy for Angela to be here, part of the Blanden staff. So if you haven't had a chance to meet Angela, please take time to do that today. So thank you. I won't talk too much more. I'm just going to hand it over to Mary because my voice is getting kind of raw. So I'll hand it over to you.
Thank you. Is that loud enough for everybody? Okay. Thanks, Arian. I am really honored and very happy to be here. I love this room. It's really wonderful to get an opportunity to see all of your work in one spot, such a beautiful spot. What I'm doing is going to introduce you into other things that I do besides flowers and gardens. Okay, to me there is nothing so exciting as committing to memory on canvas or paper a view I have seen and how it relates to my expression. I'm in love with form and the way light embraces it. I love the way it creates the beautiful colors in the shadows. I have done abstract, but I prefer working with representational art. My art education began in college. My high school classes did not teach. They just provided a few materials and the assignment of making a picture with them. I loved drawing faces in my free time. After I graduated from Principia College, where I took as much portraiture and watercolor as I could, I got married, had a family, and began studying with Dimitar Kristof in Des Moines when the children were young. I also studied with Robert Brackman, Wendell Moore, and numerous other watercolor painters. Drawing over 1,000 faces in art festivals and entering local, state, and national competitions helped me establish a career. But teaching has been a huge part of my life. Is this thing making that pounding sound? Am I too close? But teaching's been a huge part of my life. My education included portraiture, landscape, watercolor, oil, pastel. This gave me a variety of choices for students that allowed me to make a living with my teaching. Des Moines is too small for specialization as a teacher. Holding this is a little... I early discovered that most new students wanted to paint but could not draw. So I began requiring them to learn basic drawing first. I eventually made a video of my demonstrations for them to watch at home before they came to class. This video is available here and on my website as a DVD or a thumb drive. Most people have been willing to do this, which gives them so much more ability to express themselves. I tell students that light is their subject. Their design is more important than their color, and they need to understand and use correct values. I joke a lot that someday I'm going to write a book and name it Get Darker. For some reason it seems difficult to do. I was told that there are 3 kinds of artists, those with talent, those with drive, and those with both. It was then explained to me that there are many with talent, some with drive, and very few with both. I believe the word love can substitute for the word drive. And anyone can become an artist if they love doing it enough. The process of creating an image is not only an expression of feeling, but an adventure in problem solving. For each step is a decision. The more you paint, the easier the decisions become. How wonderful it is when everything goes together and you have actually created a beautiful painting that can be framed and hung on the wall. I'm going to show you some of the other things I like to paint. I really enjoy painting flowers and gardens, but landscapes and portraits are equally exciting to paint. Let's do it this way. Change. The first three pieces are some of my portraits commissioned by Iowa State University. Dr. David Topol was Dean of Agriculture, and I did this in 2004. We haven't figured out how to let her know when to change it. Dr. Lee Comer, Dean of Agriculture, and I also did this in 2004. I think they were catching up. And then Dr. Maynard Hallberg, Dean of Animal Science, and I did this in 2012. I really like doing portraits. Every face is interesting. The eyes are really the center of interest, and they draw you in to see the inner man. They have been called windows to the soul. I have been painting portraits for the Drake University Law School for over 20 years. The first one is Dan Power, who was a talkative gentleman. I went to photograph him and I was there for 2 hours. He talked the whole time. And I got my equipment all packed up, ready to leave. And waiting for him to finish his conversation. And he sat there and looked out the window. And it was perfect. It was the pose. I said, "Don't move." And he didn't. He stayed there, and I got my camera back out and took it, and that was the pose that I used. Marty McGlider, and I loved what he wore. They can wear anything they want, a suit or the colors that they had in school and stuff. I love doing hair, beards. I love glasses. I like doing jewelry. I like sparkling things and bright color. The next one is Chief Justice of the Iowa Supreme Court, Mark Cady.
He's from here, Mary. He's from here.
He's from here? Didn't know that. I think he had the kindest eyes I've ever seen. Marcia Turnus. She was also Chief Justice of the Iowa Supreme Court. Governor Terry Branstad. I was commissioned by the Iowa Utility Association. Lobbyists can't give gifts, so they had a portrait done. An aide of the governor gave up his 20 minutes for me to sketch and photograph the governor. It was interesting. Sometimes you get problems when you're about to do something you have to figure out. And I think within the year before I did his portrait, he was sledding in the snow with his kids and had an accident and had some surgery done on one eye. So the eyes did not exactly match. But I wanted the portrait to work. So I decided to put the eye that appeared to be larger in the shadow in the light, and the eye that appeared to be smaller in the shadow. And that the eye spreads. It gets bigger when it goes into the shadow, and it contracts just a little in the light. So it came out pretty well. And I thought I was being really intelligent. But this is a normal thing people do with photography all the time. Lieutenant Governor Sally Peterson. There were some applications, they wanted somebody to do Governor Culver. And Sally Peterson and many of us submitted what we do. And I think I got her because I was the only one that had women's portraits in the portfolio that were turned in. The next one is Kennedy at the Capitol. I saw this little girl at the Nutcracker in Des Moines with her American Girl doll and the dress that matched. And I asked her mother if I gave her a brochure that I had and asked if I could paint her. I would like to do a painting for the Portrait Society of America, which I belong to. And so her father, who was the head of the Iowa House of Representatives, met me at the Capitol with Kennedy, and I photographed her on the staircase, in her dad's office, and in the room where they make all their voting and their, whatever that room's called. And then I chose the one on the staircase. That's okay. This is Wesley. Wesley came from Texas in a jet for a meeting. He skipped nursery school the day he came for a portrait photograph. Again, Natalie Brown and her sister. This was fun. I did the two girls. Her sister played soccer, and my granddaughter met her when they played soccer against each other.
You're not the right one.
This is not Natalie. That's Natalie. Okay? I may take it back. It's like Christine. It's been, let's see, I did these in 2006. Her aunt in Waterloo had, at the time, 9 grandchildren and wanted me to do all of them. So starting in 2009, I started and did them as they reached about the age of 3 or 4. And Elizabeth was the first one, the next one I did. Elizabeth was the first one, and she's now, how many years ago was that? And she was 4, to 3 or 4, she's got to be 25, is that right? 2009? No. I should have written that out. Naya is the next one, and she in a print dress. And her twin is the next one. And I love doing print dresses. The patterns are fun. Okay, as the next one is Jackson, the only boy. And when Jackson came, and I photographed him, his grandmother brought him from Waterloo. I don't know whether he didn't feel well or he was unhappy, but the photographs did not turn out very well for his face. And I asked them to send me some more snapshots because he lives so far away. And his uncle was in Walmart with him and had taken this photograph. And the head was in the right spot with the right lighting, so I was able to use it with the rest of my photograph. All right, and then Jackie Sorensen. She's one of 3 children. She and her 2 siblings were all done outdoors, and these have all been oil portraits. The following portraits are pastel. Here are the grandchildren, the Hubble's grandchildren at Terrace Hill. Right here. They wanted Terrace Hill in it as having belonged to their grandfather. Lexi Olson. There are 4 families of grandchildren. This one's done in 2005. And Lambs, this is my grandson. I took the photo in 01 and painted it in 08. And it won a prize in the Pastel Society of America competition in New York. I haven't put all those in. I've got quite a few of those. I love painting landscapes. The first one is the Music Academy in Venice. I did it in ink. And I went in 3 afternoons. You had to leave at 3 o'clock because they closed. But I had to be there at the same time each day because the light would change. I took it back to my hotel room and decided that I wanted to put a wash on it, which is what the dark flat pieces are. And when I did it, I had borrowed a pen. My pen went dry, and I borrowed a pen from somebody else to finish it, and it turned blue ink. right in through here. And after I got done crying, I cried. I took a razor and scraped the glue off. I've learned a long time you don't want to really give up if something happens. There's almost always a way to fix it. And it scraped off, and I was able to piece it back together. The next one is Maine landscape with rocks. I did that on a painting trip when I was in Maine visiting a friend. Maine is full of rocks. There are rocks everywhere. Then the Reno sunset, which was the view of my hostess. I was visiting a student, I was teaching a workshop in Reno, and this was the view outside of her house of Reno down in the background. The next one is in France, Saint-Guston, which is a port. And we sat on a hill opposite the river as it comes in. And it was morning, and the sun was still from behind, backlighting. And as we painted, those umbrellas, the sun moved over, and the umbrellas opened up, and it added a whole new thing with that road. But they weren't there when I started. This is one of the exciting things about landscape. It's not always perfect when you start. The good idea is to go out there ahead of time, figure out what the lighting is going to be like, and then pick the one that you want. But also sometimes you can't do that, so you go out there and you start and you get an idea and you hang on to the idea. But sometimes something wonderful happens like that, and I thought it added a great deal to the picture. This is a vineyard. From a vineyard in Montepulciano in France, in Italy. I got France here. Color, the color in light, and the light going through the leaves, and the color in the shadows. It creates the neat design, but the colors are so beautiful as they change. That's why I say light is the subject matter. Next one is the Burgundy Landscape. I love doing repetitions of rows. Beans, corn, grapes, doesn't matter. Landscape lends itself to design so beautifully because things are close to you are big, and as they recede they get smaller and they lead you right back into the painting, and you can use clouds and trees and rows and everything to lead you back into the painting to your center of interest. Okay, the next one is the neighbor below Pesciano, Umbria, Italy. And I wanted to try something on blue paper. I use red paper a lot. I love the way the red comes through underneath the paint, but this one I wanted to try blue paper. And I looked what happened. I was staying at a villa with some artists, and the people who lived in that house came over for tea one afternoon, and she was telling us that as you come into this property, you come into this road. You know how the roads in Iowa, they get smaller and smaller as you go into the woods, and finally it's just big enough for the car. That's what it's like. And then down about where this lady is sitting, there's a turn that comes around, and it leads up into the yard and the driveway right here. And the lady from the house said that that road gets really muddy when it gets wet, and in the winter it's a mess. And they went down to the people downtown to ask them if they would please come and fix it. And they said, well, we'll have to wait until it dries. Okay, and so it was dry, they didn't come, so they called me and said, well, it doesn't need it now. Okay, the next one. I've done plein air. Do you all know what plein air is? Painting outdoors. In Mexico, New Mexico, Italy, France, Colorado, Nevada, Canada, and Maine. But Iowa is my favorite. I did a series called 52 starting in 2010. I did one painting a week for a year of Iowa landscape. I have to say, I think 2 of them are from Illinois and 1 is from Minnesota, but all of the rest are from Iowa. I did a lot of traveling that year, and I took a lot of photographs. This one is in Jasper County. Oh, and I also made a book of it, and I have those available if anybody's interested in the book of 52. The next one is Jackson County. No, the last one. Jackson County. Yeah, that's down in Iowa City. And then the next one is Saragoro County, and I loved this one. It's not completely, thank you. It's not back, right there. Thank you. This was on red paper, and I was doing it, and I got to thinking that's just too much detail. So I wiped out some of the detail, and what happened was I loved what happened, the way the red paper came out, and left it sort of quiet next to the rest of the detail in the cornfield. That's one of my favorite ones that I did with that series. And then the next one is the Joe Davis County Road. That isn't Joe Davis County Road. Then go to the next one. That's got to be it. I love ditches, especially after rain. They're so pretty when the rain gets rid of the dust. And I love Queen lace. My favorite flower to paint is irises. This is one I did in 2005. Next one. Next one is what?
Last of summer.
Iris 18 isn't down there? Okay, the last of summer. Go ahead and do the last of summer. My neighbor planted a sunflower between our 2 yards, and it was there looking at me, and I thought, well, it really ought to be painted. And so that's where that one came from, and I loved not only the flower, but the things that happen around it. Okay, what's the next one? There it is. That's my iris. Iris 18, Beverly Sills. They give names, every iris has a name. This one is Beverly Sills, and it was done on Wallace paper, which was my favorite paper. It's a sandpaper. It's a sandpaper, feels like sandpaper, but it's not too rough, that they made for pastel. And I used to buy it and use it a lot. And it turned out that the lady who owned it, they had a fire in the warehouse and destroyed most of the paper. And she sold off some that they were able to hang on to. And so I got some little pieces. I don't know, they're 7 by 9 or whatever they are. And that's what the lilies are done. So that's some that I had saved and left over. And the surface is beautiful to work on. Okay, Iris. Next one. The Stars and Stripes, that's in the show. And the next one, my backyard. I have a friend who is a student who loves doing gardens, and one day she said she would love to do my garden. She would love to do gardens. I said, what would you like to do if you could do anything? She said, I would do gardens, planting. I said, well, I'll be your first customer. So she started mine, and she did it for maybe 10 or 15 years, and they were just beautiful. She can't do them anymore, but this is stuff that she put in there. I think probably the last time that she did it. It's now completely covered with yellow black-eyed Susans. They're all over the place. And it's beautiful, but we've got to get rid of some, too many. Next one is, this is just a demo that I did when I was teaching at the Iowa Correctional Institution for Women at Mitchellville, to show them how to do pastel. We did a program over there teaching art lessons to the students. And then the last one is it's an oil. It's 4 feet by 5 feet. It's called Pack and Salt, and it's Jim is the front horse and Ollie is the back one. And they're taking salt out to the field for the animals. And it was on a disc that a friend of mine, one of my students gave me, of landscapes that could be painted, and I asked her if I could do this one because she took it of her husband. So the design isn't different. I copied the photograph literally, but I was so excited about this animal coming right at me. I thought it was just so beautiful, so that's the reason I painted that one. Okay. One more page here. I've sold quite a few prints of it. I'm not quite sure that I want to get rid of the painting. I enjoy painting every one of these paintings. I hope you enjoy the ones I brought with me. And thank you for coming to my show. Sure.
Does anybody have any questions for Mary about the work that you saw? No question? Oh, there's a question.
You do almost all of your work with pastel, but you do some oils also? Is that?
I have been basically using pastel for the past 20 years. I do a lot of oil portrait. I do very little oil for me, just for painting the iris on the oil, the white iris. I really felt like doing oil on that one, so I did. But I do more pastel than that. I am now investigating watercolor. I used to work in watercolor and teach it. And I'm going to start teaching it again, which means I'm going to have to be painting in watercolor. So I may end up doing watercolor for the next couple of years. It's great to have several mediums because you get inspired when you change to a different one from what you're working with. You don't want to get too bored. It's not a good word. Set in the same thing all the time. You need inspiration to do something different. Yes.
Your process is basically you get photographs and you do that, but then you also mentioned that like when you do a class, you make them learn to draw first.
Yes.
But most of these are done from photos.
Most of
right?
my work is done either, the ones that are done outside on the landscape, plein air,
Yeah.
I did them outside. The rest of them are from photographs. But I make the students learn how to do them from life because you see so much more from life than you do from the photograph. The nice thing about photography is it used to be really not accepted. But because a photograph isn't all true because of the things that it does. In some places it's too dark or too light. The perspective changes. So if you do life, then you avoid that. But if you don't learn how to do life, you get stuck with the photograph and you don't understand things exactly. So I make everybody learn how to do it without the photo. For me, the reason I do the photo, particularly for portraits, is because finding a time for people to come and sit for sitting, it's hard. I'd rather paint at night. And they're coming at night. Okay.
Any other questions? No? All right. Well, thank you, Mary.
Thank you.
Thank you all for coming. I think you questions out there, so enjoy yourself. And please check out the other galleries as well. We've got some amazing exhibits up. But otherwise, enjoy the rest of your day. So thank you.